There we go. There we go. So, Victoria, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for accepting.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
It's super nice to have you here. Now, before we start, I have to give you an epic welcome to my show. So, if you have watched some of my episodes, you know exactly what I'm about to do. If you don't, it's fine. Let me show you.
Yay!
Pretty epic, I know.
Yay! So epic, huh?
Oh shit! Wait, that's crazy, bro.
Here's stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
You go to floors, you can't see him. My dog's in the lap. Okay.
All right. So, starting with the whole interview now, tell me, where does your passion for acting, directing, writing, and producing started?
Okay. Well, I've always wanted to perform from a young age. I grew up doing tap jazz ballet. Competed in a few different studios, and then my mom actually wanted me to be an artist and an actor. I was like, I like performing, but I don't know. She's like, you should go to the Orange County Performing Arts High School, and I was like, I don't know if I want to, but she pushed me to audition, and I got into the acting musical theater program, and it was some of the best years of my life. I fell in love with directing there and acting and dancing and singing, which I don't do as much anymore. But yeah, that's where I fell in love with acting and directing.
There you go. Now tell me, what are some of the best memories you have when you traveled to Italy and England while studying Shakespeare?
Yeah, so when I was at UCLA, I was so fortunate to study abroad, and I chose Italy first. I really wanted to study abroad everywhere. I had a list of countries, and I wanted to learn all the theatrical acting styles, from Greek tragedy to Commedia dell'arte in Italy, which is what I started with. Very physical historical comedy, and that was where improvisation came from, was in Italy. And it was just a group of us through UC Irvine. Actually, it was just 6 actors who went that summer, and we would all just get up at 8 a.m. in the middle of Italy in Arezzo, and we would just go on down to the little studio, and we had the best teacher, Michael Bottini, and he taught us Commedia dell'arte.
There you go. That's amazing. And then in 2013, you were in The Parting of Eden. Tell me, was that your first film? And can you tell me a little bit about your character for that one?
Sorry, could you repeat that? It's very quiet.
Yeah, no problem. So in 2013, you were in The Parting of Eden. So tell me, was that your first film? And tell me about your character.
Was that my first film? It was one of my first films at UCLA with the director-writer Betsy Kai, and she was in the film and television department at UCLA. And she just asked me, she's like, hey, do you want to be in this with another one of my Shakespeare friends? And it was just us two, and it was based off a book, The Pruning of Eden. And it was just a little short we did, but it was fun because we got to do British accents. And I remember she's like, I want to make this one of my first legit projects. So she took me down to Century City Mall, and we chose this really expensive dress that she couldn't afford, and we kept the tags, and she returned it and everything. But it was awesome to have the first kind of taste of having a full crew there with lighting, sound, and a design team. And she hired someone to do my makeup who was an actual painter, I think, with paint brushes, who did painting as her passion with makeup. So it was just a wonderful artistic process.
Cool. And then in 2014, you were in more short films such as From the Top, Half Day, Saving Jane. Tell me more about those films.
Let's see. From the Top was fun. I got to be just a crazy neurotic actress, and that's always fun. Who doesn't like that? Who was jealous that she wasn't the lead in her high school play that was coming up, and she tried to sabotage the girl who did get the lead. So there was some stunts where I didn't do them, pretending to drop lights on a theater.
Okay.
And I was like, I went crazy and like talked to my stuffed animals and ran lines with my stuffed animals. So random, so fun. What else did you mention from the top?
Half Day and Saving Jane.
Half Day was fun. That was just a little one-liner again through another awesome director through UCLA TFT, and that took place in the South, so we got to do this nice Southern accent, and that was fun from a one-liner. And Saving Jane was awesome because that was actually through a mental health program, or like just a health program through UCLA, and it was like, again, directors and producers through UCLA, and they opened up the auditions to people outside of UCLA, so it was like a pretty big casting call with like a lot of girls, and there was like 4 female roles, and I was lucky enough to get one of them, and again, not playing the nicest character, but it was a ton of fun because at the end I get to reconcile with the other leads, and we're like saving her from a guy with not great intentions at a party for the whole of UCLA campus. So like, be careful when you're drinking and who you're drinking with.
Okay. Now tell me how you usually prepare for a character for a film.
Oh wow, I think it's different every time. I mean, every acting method is totally valid. You have the method, you Stanislavski, you have classical, you have Shakespeare. You have just like modern, studying your camera scripts for like a sitcom, single cam, multicam, that's sitcom, single cam drama these days. So there's just kind of, we're at this weird place in acting where I feel like it's any and everyone's game, and you can kind of just pick and choose what you want. I start with like the who, what, when, where, why. I start memorizing immediately. I want to read it like out loud at least 100 times if I have the time. Immerse myself into all like the sensory details of that person's life, and just remember why I'm doing it and why I want to explore other people, because it's just cathartic and interesting and fun.
Cool. And then in 2016 you were in Cupcake, My Darling, the Delilah. So tell me about your characters in those projects.
Delilah was dark. That was dark.
Okay.
Was, like, Smile or Laugh as my character. I got to do that with one of my good friends, Rebecca Noble. Awesome. And it was with one of our filmmaker friends, Scott Hayes, who is also just immensely talented as a director and a cinematographer. I love him so much. He doesn't live in LA anymore. And he just drove us out to Joshua Tree and rented this little cottage, like kind of in the middle of nowhere in the desert. And we just shot for like a whole weekend. And it was so fun. We got to get kind of like just dirty and gross, and we didn't shower, and we were up for like 16 plus hours at a time, just like doing scenes over and over and over again. It was really intense. And then that got into a film festival in Arizona, Jerome, Arizona, and that was awesome. And when we talked at that, people were like, "Oh, you're not the same actress who did that." And I was like, "Oh no, yeah, I am." And they're like, "You're smiling." She didn't smile, and I was like, "Yeah." It was dark.
Wow. Now, what do you think it's important for young actors to know when they recently started on the acting business?
Important. It's always important to have fun and love what you're doing, because if you're having fun, if you don't love what you're doing, then there's really no point.
True.
I think certainly I went through like a cycle of acting where I just took it way too seriously, and sometimes I still get stuck in that trap of like, oh, this matters so much, and it's like, no, it doesn't matter so much. Nothing matters so much. So yeah.
Okay.
And if you love it, somebody else will love it, even if somebody else doesn't love it.
True. Now, what were some of the challenges that you had when you started acting?
Oh gosh. Definitely taking myself too seriously. Let go, meditate, yoga, just release it all. Doesn't matter at the end of the day. Especially like just when you have auditions and callbacks and workshops with casting directors, you want to take yourself so seriously and do the best job, and so you have like all this tension in your face and voice and head and thoughts and body, and it's just like people can see that and they can sense that and deal with that or work with that, even if they don't know exactly what it is about you. So I think just like overcoming myself, because if somebody else can't do it, it's like I know what I can and can't do. thank you very much. But if it's just me with myself, it gets, just get in your head, and it's like, no, you just gotta let it go every day, every moment, every hour. Let it go.
That's awesome. Now, what would you say is the key for a good story, for a good storytelling on a film?
Ironically, as I just said, nothing matters. In storytelling, something has to matter. There has to be why you're personally connected to whatever story you're telling. Otherwise, why do it? And there's so many things I've written that just didn't hit the mark, and it wasn't clear why I was writing it or why I was performing it or directing it or anything. And those projects just kind of like fell to the wayside. Whereas like if I had an important project, I was just so connected to it on so many levels that you can't even understand, or not understand, you can't even explain half the time, because it's just this cosmic connection with why something to do with like mental health matters, or friendship, or love, or heartbreak, or catharsis.
Yeah.
Anything like that's got to matter to you.
True. Now, what about Murder Among Friends? Tell me about your character in that documentary, and what are some of the things that you enjoy the most about that project?
That was one of my favorite projects because it was my first TV credit. And so it was like my first time working with mostly people who I didn't know, and I had to audition for and went to the callbacks and everything. The cast was just superb. Like everybody was so perfectly cast for that project, which like only happens every once in a while, I feel like. And we just all had a blast playing off each other, and it was really dark because there's murder and there's a group of us who are murdering our friend. So it got really dark, but we were all just like so trusting with each other and like really fell into a nice flow like from day one of, and we just got to like, we just kind of like latched onto each other. I'm here with you, you're here with me, we can trust each other, and we're laughing like by the time they call cut. And if we weren't laughing, then we just took a moment in the corner to breathe it out, came back and laughed some more.
Okay, wow. That's really awesome. And in 2019, you were in Euphoria. Tell me, what were some of the things that you enjoy the most about being in that show?
That show's amazing. Again, very hard to watch sometimes, but so artistic and beautiful. I was actually just background on that, and then they took me and another girl and upgraded us. So that was really cool. And it was after the leads had gone home, and they were just kind of like shooting us in like their hallway set on Sony. And they put a camera behind us and the boom behind us, and they just were like following us down the high school hallway, and they're just like, you guys are just talking like in between classes, like go for it. And that's just so fun when an actor gets to just like improv off the cuff. Unfortunately, it didn't make it in. I think my legs made it in. They used that footage with me and this other girl, but it was still just the experience of itself, like, you know, on the historic Sony lot that used to be MGM, and we're just like improving with like the DP and the boom and the cast and crew, just like, or the rest of the background just like around us, and there's so much smoke, atmosphere, and it was like really gritty, and it was just a ton of fun.
Okay. Now, if you could describe your career at the moment in a movie or a TV show, what would be the title of it?
So extra, with a hashtag in front of it. It would definitely be hashtag so extra, because the past 4 years I've been doing mainly background to pay the bills while I audition and work other odd jobs and work sometimes as an actress here and there and dance here and there, but just being a background actor, just a lot of extra things that happen.
Yeah, of course. Well, then I guess that if at some point you're making your show, you can just go back to this and got the title already.
Yep, definitely have the title of that one.
Okay. Now moving on, tell me what do you enjoy the most about writing?
So, that's such a big question. Last night, this is like gonna tie in, I promise. Last night I was out dancing with my fiance, and like I don't even remember what it was, but something like really bothered me. Something happened, or somebody said something about like not being vaccinated or something, and I was like, oh, something's bothering me. I don't like that. And then my brain immediately goes, how would I write that into a scene? How would I write that into a novel? How would I write that into a script? Why is that topical for me? And like, I just made a little note in my notes section on my phone to like return to that feeling and like what that person said, because it really hit me for some odd reason, even though it was just a small off the cuff remark the person said. And I immediately felt better, just like writing a note of like, I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna explore why that bugged me so much and why that conversation between me and the small group I was with. A cathartic release.
Absolutely interesting.
And just kind of.
Now you wrote you wrote condicionadamente claustrofóbico. Tell me, was that your inspiration to write? I mean, what was your inspiration to write that?
So that was actually for Campus Movie Fest at UCLA. I was like halfway through my years at UCLA, and they have this yearly movie fest, I think, where you, in the span of like 24 or 48 hours, you have to like write, produce, cast, and shoot your film, which I did. And there was this old elevator in one of the buildings that I had a bunch of classes in North Campus at UCLA. And I was like, what if there's just like a bunch of students who had a place to go and they just got stuck in an elevator on afternoon? Okay. So I just like wrote a bunch of parts for friends at UCLA. I was like, hey, will you be in this? Will you do this? We're just going to shoot it one day. And it was like 10 plus pages, which is so ambitious to shoot in one day, which I learned that day. And put them in the elevator, shot it with my DP friend, Scott Hayes. And one girl was like sick. I was having her throwing up in the elevator. One girl had to turn into paper and broke her arm. There was a bunch of students who were having a theater premiere show that night. It was a really big deal to them. They're all 5 or 6 of them just like stuck in an elevator. And like I was like directing from outside the elevator because it was just way too many people to have such a small space. So it's just like my DP and actors would be like, okay, so on this take, do all this and hit that. Got it? Good. Okay, close the elevator. And it turned out great.
Yeah,
turned
that's
out really
cool.
Good.
And what do you like the most about directing?
I think a lot of people say this in the film industry, and especially in the industry, is like making a film, no matter what the size is, like being in a sinking boat or sinking ship. And maybe you've heard that before, maybe not, but it's just like, you know, and you discover there's all these holes in the boat and you're trying to like get to a destination, but the boat's sinking, and you kind of just all as a team effort have to float. And I just think that requires like problem solving at its best. And I think the director kind of just to like be the captain and be like, okay, you do this, you do that, let's have you do this, do that, how many minutes do you need to breathe and get into character, how much time do you need lighting, sound you good, just like constantly micromanaging everything and just having your eye on everything and taking a step back and letting it happen after calling action. I think that's very fun and stimulating, honestly.
That's amazing. Now, tell me, what motivates you, like to keep chasing, like your dreams? Like what drives you to every day just keep working hard to make them happen?
I think, especially in acting, and especially as you get older and the more years you're doing this in a big city, there's always agents and casting directors and people saying, hey, are you sure you want to do this? It doesn't get any easier. You're not guaranteed like $1 million at the end of the day. You're not guaranteed to lead in this or that, or you're not guaranteed to work with these people. And I've thought about it really seriously, and I was like, oh, should I just quit? This is hard. And I think I tried quitting for like a day or a week or a month, and I was like, I don't know what else I'm going to do, because I'm still just going to sit by myself, write, do things on my own, even if no one pays attention, which I think a lot of people have kind of alluded to that. It's like, well, I don't know what else I would do, and I think I tried doing other things and getting excited about other things, and I don't. So there's really nothing else for me.
And my last question here: what advice could you give to people who recently starting out following their dreams? Can you hear me?
You don't always get support when you're younger and when you're pursuing. What?
No. I think we're having like five. Like I have like I think we have like 4 or 5 seconds of delay. Though. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I think for anybody who wants to pursue their dreams, even if they don't get the support in form of like mentors or teachers that they want growing up, to like keep searching with like a eye and a fierce soul, and like know that whatever you want will come to you. If it's meant to be for you, it'll come to you. And just like dreams don't work unless you do, so just keep working and keep, in a way, keep your head down and just like yourself in the work, because that's where it's at. And it's the outside doesn't matter if it shuts you down, because it's about you living with yourself at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could be wrong, I don't know.
Absolutely, but you know what? That is true. That I think that at the end of the day, if you wanna start like your own project or something, you need to put a lot of work on it. But also you need to remember that along the way there are gonna be moments in which you're gonna doubt if you should continue or not. But I think that at the same time builds your character, right? To keep up working hard and to make them happen pretty much. You know, but yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. And
definitely gonna hurt, but you get back up.
Yeah, totally. Huh?
We're having another lag.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of a lag. Can you hear me?
Yes,
can you hear me now?
Hear you. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. So I was just saying here that well, Victoria, I mean, you have a really awesome career. You have been involved in so many awesome projects. I can't wait to see more of your awesome. I can't wait to see more that you get involved into more movies, into more projects here and there. You are definitely super talented, so make sure that you keep being that talented person every single day.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And also, thank you so much for those who tune in. Those who are listening to this later on the podcast, make sure that you're following Victoria. Normally, what I would say is that you put pause, follow Victoria and all of her social media, leave a bunch of likes, and then come back for sure. And again, Victoria, thank you so much. Before I send you off, I need to send you off in an epic way. So.
That was the clapping off.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. That's awesome.
He perks up.
And I'm sorry. And and Victoria, again, thank you so much.
It got
can you hear me
silent.
now? And now, is it better?
Yay! Thank you so much.
Is it better now?
Thank you for having me. Have a good one.
Keep having an amazing rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one then, okay?
Cool, I'll see you next time. Bye, Dan.
Bye. Have a good one. Bye.
Yep.